Now, we already talked about the Old Testament. It's almost 80% of the Bible. It's a lot of the Bible. Now, before I even start to talk about the breakdown of how the books are arranged, let's talk about what's in it from a content standpoint. They're going to teach you the Old Testament, it prepares you for the coming of Jesus, and the New Testament, Jesus is here, he's risen, and now he's coming back. And to a certain point, that's true, but it's not really 100% accurate. So let's talk about first the time period of the Old Testament. At the very, very, very beginning, in the first 11 chapters, we're dealing with the creation of the world. Now, once again, though, this is super important. This was never meant to be an historical account. This is the legends, the myths that were passed down from time that tell about how there's one God in the universe, and that one God created the entire world. Now, after 11 chapters, not 11 books, 11 chapters of only one book, we start to get into this guy named Abraham. You've probably heard of him. To Christians, to Jews, and to Muslims. He's a huge person in all of those faiths. Okay, but God finds this one guy. Now, this is important because it's a polytheistic society, y'all. That means they believe in a lot of gods. So at this time, this one guy is visited by one who says, I'm the one true God. And the story that moves forward, it goes for 4 generations. Abraham, his kids, his grandkids, and his great-grandkids. And that's all in this book of Genesis, his first book. And in the 3rd generation, this guy Jacob, Abraham's grandkid, his name is changed to Israel. God changes his name, and he has 12 kids. And these spawn what we know of as the 12 tribes of Israel. And what we do is we follow those 12 tribes of Israel for the rest of the Old Testament. Now, that's super simplifying it. But as we're following these 12 tribes, we see that this family that keeps expanding, they're growing a ton, they're making a lot of mistakes in the process, they're trying to figure out life, they're trying to figure out God. Now, as they grow, God ends up choosing some individual leaders from this family, from these 12 tribes, and they call those the judges, but they're kind of leaders. This is the book of Judges. So we're almost in like 6, 7, 8 books deep. And he's choosing these leaders to help lead these tribes. But after a while, these groups start going, why can't we have a king? Everybody else has a king. Why can't we have a king? God gives them a king to rule them. And this is a period people like to call the United Monarchy. And what it means is all 12 tribes united under one king. But think about this. The United Monarchy only lasted for 3 kings. Only about 70 years were these 12 combined under kings. And 2 of those are super famous, David and Solomon. Everyone's heard of them. But this monarchy is also super important because this is also when we start getting really precise records, because now we have kingdoms, we have people, scribes that are writing things down. This is where the Bible starts to get a little bit more historically accurate. And it's around this time that we actually start getting history. Now, after 3 kings, remember we talked about it, the 12 tribes, they can't agree anymore. They break apart, they separate. And that takes us into the divided monarchy, because now they're divided, they're not united. Now that's just a little bit that takes you through the book of Genesis, all the way to Kings. And just this little section we're talking about right now, that's almost 25% of the entire Bible. Creation, one man that's chosen by God, 4 generations, and how we see what this generation turns into, which is 12 tribes, and how these 12 tribes then start spanning the cross. They start getting leaders, having a king, breaking apart, not really being united anymore. And now we're going to get to the next half.